So we move on from the bantamweight division. We actually stay in the bantamweight division, but it's the female of the species more deadly than the male. And that is our bantamweight title fight in the women's division. It is Amanda Nunes taking on Germaine de Randamie. You can get Nunes at a -310 favourite. De Randamie is coming in at +240. Remember when people cared about the women's bantamweight division?
Yeah, I mean,
this was the headline you were saying earlier about. You were saying earlier about women's don't have the strength. A couple of years ago, this was the headline.
Yeah.
I miss Ronda. I mean, at least people cared when Ronda was fighting.
No, they did. I think Ronda, and I tell you what, Ronda brought a lot of fans.
Yes.
Ronda brought a lot of fans. So,
because I think somebody read a stat, where I think it was, UFC 193, which was Ronda versus Holly. 60,000 people in Melbourne, Australia, million buys. And then, 2.5 years later, Nunes pulls 85,000 against Raquel Pennington.
Oh man, that's hearing it in figures like that's shocking.
And it's when I look at, I've always said this to a lot of people, and I've got a bit of blowback on the internet about it. I've never had an issue with Nunes as a fighter. I think he's a fantastic fighter, but it's the business side of the sport. I mean, for all her achievements, for all her big wins, for all the hype that Dana, Joe Rogan give her, she's never been a big media-friendly character. And in my opinion, that's hurting the division. Because I grew up with sort of the Strikeforce early UFC years of this division. And it was fantastic. Like when you had Ronda, Misha Tate, Julie Kedzie, Sarah Kaufman, some fantastic fights. And there's just no buzz around the division now. And in my opinion, she's a big part of the reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go two ways with that. Sometimes you do need someone with character. You need someone who's going to sell the fights. Yeah. But then you can have it, you've got in some divisions where it's just everyone's now trying to do that.
Totally.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So, I don't think people should just be having this fake persona to try and sell fights. If this is the way they are, this is the way they are. But yeah, you do need someone's got to be saying, they've got to have someone maybe in the back room saying, look,
have a bit of marketability, isn't it? It's a business,
chuck someone in there.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like there's this real sort of, dare I say, desperation around Nunes. They're trying everything to make people care about her. I mean, when you're wheeling out Holly Holm for a title fight to try and get some sort of interest around you, and they're still not, she just does not draw at all.
Nah, I don't think she's done herself any favours.
No, I think she's a very harsh figure.
Yeah. But I think even if she brought something to the table and maybe was like, I'm gonna maybe add some spice to this, I just don't think it would come across. I don't think she has the ability to kind of do that. And to be honest, you get moments with champions like that. I think you either got it or you don't, and this is one of those periods where the current champion does not have it. I
personally think the best thing for this division, ignoring all of the sporting side of it, the best thing that can happen is Nunes losing.
Yeah.
Not because Germaine is this big media-friendly star that's going to instantly get people crawling back, but it could be the jolt. In the same way Rose beating Joanna woke the strawweight division up.
Yeah.
And strawweight's probably one of the best divisions in the UFC now.
Got people engaged.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a hero versus villain story, and as much as Joanna, you can say Joanna had didn't have very much personality, but she played the villain well, and she was fit into that mould, the villain versus Rose, wasn't it? So
I think that sells.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
whether you like it or not.
I am very intrigued.
Tune in, don't you?
Yeah.
I am very intrigued to see Joanna versus Whaley. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight.
I know she plays the bad guy very well, but
But I don't think she's that bad of a person.
No, she's not. She's definitely not. She's actually seems really nice when you see her in interviews and things like that.
She didn't come across too bad in the Ultimate Fighter. How she came across okay.
But I think sometimes, as well as that, Ronda was the same. Sometimes you speak to her, not me personally, but people would speak to her in interviews, and she'd come across really nice. And that kind of fight week or the build up to it is where you'd see the change.
I've always said there were two Rondas. Ronda Rousey, the normal person who's this goofy, dorky, insecure girl. And then there's the front, there's Rowdy Ronda, who's
game face.
Yeah. I love the fact that we're talking about Joanna and Ronda just so we don't talk about Nunes. That sort of proves the point. She just doesn't have any pull.
Yeah, I've never, like I say, I know the way it went wasn't great, but I think Nunes beating Cyborg, gave me a little bit more respect for Nunes. However much Cyborg kind of rushed in and things like that. But as a fighter, yes.
Yes.
But just as a person, there's just nothing that kind of attracts me. Her name on a billing doesn't make me kind of want to watch that. And I'm glad it's the third fight. It's not the main event.
It's the third fight on the pay-per-view.
Because really, as a championship fight, you could have that as a main event on another card. That would put me off watching it. I'd maybe turn off after the co-main event. So
we are talking about, though, one of the hardest punches in women's MMA right now.
Mm-hmm. Whether you like her or not, she still finished Cyborg, which was on a thought on a tenable a couple of years ago, wasn't it? So.
And she took the fight as well.
Yes.
She didn't back away from the fight. Like some
people
people
being
have.
stripped.
Well, that's something that we will be talking about later on. I know who you're referring to. When it comes to Nunes as well, we got somebody, a very deceptive jab. I think she has a very deceptively long jab. Likes to throw in the leg kicks to start the combinations, and we saw that's what basically derailed Rocky Pennington right from the start. Also, jiu-jitsu background. It hasn't been seen all that recently because of all the knockouts, but it is something for her to fall back on. We could possibly see that being used a lot more against Randamie, who's maybe not great on the ground. Mm-hmm. I'm intrigued to see how Nunes handles this fight, in my opinion, because I think if she takes it to the ground, if she makes this a grappling match, I think it's going to be an easy win for her. There's two things, in my opinion, which are going to be to her detriment. One, she does have a chip on her shoulder, and I think she would want to prove a point and say, look how great I am. I head kicked Holly Holm, I knocked out Cyborg, I'm going to knock out a world-class kickboxer. And if she does, she's always going to give Germaine a chance, because Germaine can crack.
Yeah.
But also as well, I think when fighters move up to fight Cyborg, they don't really change all that much physically. They're just bantamweights that don't cut as much. Nunes completely changed her physique. I mean, her arms and her shoulders were massive in that fight. And in my opinion, she's never shaken the weight off. Because I do know a bit of insider knowledge on this. The UFC wanted this to be a featherweight fight. But Germaine said, no, if we're doing this, it's going to be a bantamweight. And in my opinion, the reason is because the UFC think that Nunes will A, not make weight, or B, drain herself trying to make weight. Because she barely made the scale for the Holly fight. And if she does that again, and a drained fighter, we saw what Germaine did Aspen Ladd.
But then you could also say Amanda Nunes being a drained fighter, suddenly on the day of the fight doesn't turn up. Suddenly I'm not well enough to fight.
Yeah, and she's done that before.
We've seen it before, so
she should have got stripped for that.
Well, this is the thing.
I mean, run the Shevchenko fight back later, but at that moment in time, she should have lost the belt.
It's like you saying the UFC might want Amanda Nunes not to have the belt.
I think they've changed tact on that. I think that when she fought Ronda and then she fought Shevchenko, they were really anti-Nunes. Mm-hmm. But I think the Cyborg fights changed that from their perspective, and they've started to try and go all out to make her the face of women's MMA. What I will say though, if Amanda Nunes is the hardest puncher in the women's bantamweight division, Germaine de Randamie's number 2.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's going to be a kind of interesting battle to see who's in a.
On paper, it looks a lot one-sided, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as one-sided as it looks. Maybe
it's not, and I think Germaine gets a real unfair rap from a lot of fans because, I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest female kickboxers of all time. This is somebody who beat a man in a kickboxing fight. You can actually get YouTube this. I'll try and send the link to you on the channel. She has actually beaten a man in a kickboxing match. But I think...
Was it Fallon Fox?
No, it was... Oh.
Sorry.
Mind you, to be honest, I've watched some of Fallon Fox's fights, and considering the hype that Joe Rogan makes about it, how evil it was, she wasn't all that good.
Yeah.
I mean, she got stopped by Ashley Evans-Smith.
Well, she's not on this card, so we'll skip by her.
When it comes to Germaine, yes, she does get a bad rap from fans because of what happened against Holly, and yes, she should have got a point deducted, especially the second time she did it.
100%. I don't know how she didn't.
And then there was the stuff with Cyborg where she turned down the fight, but I will give Germaine some defence because with a lot of professional fighters, fighting is all they do for a career. Mm-hmm. Germaine works as a policewoman in real life, and for her, fighting is a hobby. So she's not as swayed by the pressures of having to defend titles and having to take fights. So if she's saying, no, I don't want to fight Cyborg because I don't agree with her steroid past, I think that's okay given the circumstances, from her circumstances. Might not be good as a fight fan, but that's where I stand. And I think, as well, I think Germaine is a lovely person. I've spoken to a lot of people who've met her in real life, and she's really down to earth, spends a lot of time with the fans. And I think if people saw that side of Germaine, I think they would warm to her a lot more.
Yeah, I just, if you're going to be in this sport, I know you can have your personal issues with whatever, but surely going in there and beating someone who's got a steroid pass, maybe. Yeah. I know you think your personal morals and things like that, but.
And I think she would have given Cyborg some trouble in that fight.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone. It becomes a discussion of who's in charge of making the fights. Mm-hmm. Yes. Is it the fighter? Is it UFC? Is it? You mean so?
You were one step away from boxing there, right?
Exactly.
Which is not what we want. We fight best fights to be made by the best people on the card.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
And we had it with DJ and TJ when the people wanted to see that fight, and DJ wouldn't take it. And you've seen Dana White wasn't happy about it, but then the fight never came about.
When it comes to Germaine, though, we're talking about a great technical striker. The Aspen Ladd fight showed that she has one-punch power. She's also knocked out, I think, Anna Elmos and Larissa Pacheco. So maybe not the biggest names, but she has beaten them. Holly Holm, I personally scored the fight for Germaine. Even if you deducted the point, it would have been a draw. Rocky Pennington, she made easy work of, and Rocky was drained in that fight as well. Yeah. We've also got a great Thai fighter as well. Heavy knees. She used them really well against Elmos. So I am interested to see if Germaine does maybe try risking the clinch game, or if she does try and keep this a distance.
As a kickboxer, you think you should be able to keep that distance, but I think Nunes is going to want to come in close. Yeah. So I think it might be inevitable that the clinch is there and you get the tight clinch in there. But I think that's dangerous for Nunes if she does do that. This is why I'm saying it's an interesting fight, because they've both got the ability to hurt each other.
Yes.
And you're going to have to mix the worlds up. You can't have it one kickboxing and one wanting to come close and keeping the distance. So
they've both got ways they can keep the distance, so there'll be kicks or jabs, respectively. So someone's going to have to come in, to be fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think where this fight could be won, though, is the ground game. I think Nunes is going to be wary of Germaine's weaknesses on the ground. Germaine admits she hates the ground game. So I think Nunes is going to go quite grappling heavy, try and take this to the ground, wear her out there, maybe try and go for an early stop with strikes. But Germaine has not been taken down since the two first fought. And she's fought some good wrestlers as well, who couldn't do anything about her.
Do you think that has any sort of effect mentally, that the last person to beat her was Nunes?
I think for some fighters it does. I think Germaine is mentally strong enough to... But again, as we mentioned before, if Germaine is somebody who, dare I say, picks and chooses or fights a little bit more than others, if she didn't want to fight Nunes, she wouldn't have done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think she's confident enough that I think she can try and get a result.
And especially at that weight class. That's the reason why she's asked for that weight class.
You know what, I'll tell you what was interesting, you saying about Randamie being a policewoman.
Yep.
Full time.
Yes.
Where did she get the time to train?
It's pretty much a 9-to-5 job, and she goes straight to training straight afterwards.
That is crazy, because you saying, I guess, she's not got a great game on the ground and stuff like that. She probably doesn't have time to be fitting that in. It's
like Stipe with his fireman, isn't he? Obviously, not going to do it full time, but
who was the other guy that was a fireman?
Chris Lytle.
Lytle, yes, he's a fireman as well.
And Krokop was Croatian Special Forces.
Yeah. Scary man.
So we've weighed up the potential options of this, and we actually talked about, me and Gareth talked about this before we actually came on air. Do we run a real risk of Nunes cleaning out that division if she gets through to Randamie? Because if you were looking at the next opponent afterwards, you're looking at either the Vieira versus Aldana winner, Juliana Pena or Aspen Ladd, and you can't really see any of those people troubling her.
what do you do from there? I agree with you. I don't think there is. Do you just?
Then it becomes a bit like Demetrius Johnson, didn't
It
it?
does.
Do you know what I mean? Where you're just putting people forward for title shots who haven't really earned off the back of it.
And that actually, for me, makes me lose a lot of interest.
Yes.
Because it's just, what's the point of kind of watching that? And there was a time I actually thought John Jones had done that. But there was a point where it was just kind of like, well, who can he fight?
When it was getting to sort of Chael Sonnen in the first Gus fight, you were thinking.
Who's
But then
next?
Gus, sometimes the beauty of MMA,
Yeah.
you get someone who, on paper, is not going to do anything, but all of a sudden rises to the occasion, like Masvidal Diaz, he rises to that
I
occasion.
mean, we could very well get a situation where Nunes gets his win, everyone's saying she's clean out the division, and then Ketlen Vieira takes her down and submits her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's MMA, there's a beauty of MMA,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And then we can also get something of Amanda Nunes fighting whoever's in the division. Suddenly she's getting the longest winning streaks and title defences, and how long before you have to like maybe do the Ben Askren thing of going to another division or another company and seeing if there's anyone there. And I don't know. However much I had issue with Randamie not taking the Cyborg fight, I think I'd like to see her win.
Yeah,
I'd like to see her win it.
I'd like Germaine to win.
Yeah.
So you're going to predict it then?
My heart is saying Germaine to win. My head is saying Nunes second round.
Yeah. No, I can.
I'm going to have to say Nunes. As much as I don't want that to happen, I think it's going to be a Nunes stoppage. I'm going to say third.
I agree. I think Nunes stoppage.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Randamie win it.
So would I.
And the bantamweight division remains a ghost town.